Thinkers, I am so excited to bring this conversation to you. This is going to be a multiple part one, but we are global with this conversation. I want to introduce you to Richard Rogers, who I had the pleasure of getting introduced to. Richard, probably about a month or two ago. Like things have come together pretty quick on this collaboration from the legendary Jarvis Smith, just doing incredible work throughout the space, another thinker in our community, and just a great person to just be around. But Richard, before we dive in, tell us who you are, where you're coming from, and all that good stuff.
Well, thank you, Evan, so much. And yeah, it was amazing to connect with you many weeks ago. And we've made so much progress since we connected. And I think, when I met you initially, it was very much you're a person who takes action, a bit like me. So I can see how we resonated really well, and we wanted to make things happen, make change happen. So I'm delighted with the progress, and I cannot thank you enough for your guidance, your help, your support to bring this magical project, A Plastic to Purpose, to life. But a bit about myself, though. I am now the executive director of the Love Peace Harmony Foundation, but I'm also a businessman who has businesses in the UK. So I have multiple roles, but a little bit of background on myself is that you always in business are chasing the dollar bills or the pound coins or whatever you want to say. And you never quite manage to hold them for long enough. So on one occasion, and I was very blessed to be in this position, I was able to have a couple of businesses that really turned the corner. I was able to get those dollar bills, hold them, and become successful in that industry. And I thought that was it. I thought that's what I wanted in life. And I wouldn't say that it isn't amazing. I realized at that point that I thought, hey, there's something more than this. And I wanted to help people. So I used to look around to find somebody who was helping people that I could help with my business skills, so somebody who could really open the hearts and minds of people. So I looked around and, I went to these events and they gave me leaflets, gave me CDs and books. But on one occasion, one person gave me this CD and it was called Love, Peace, Harmony. And she said to me, if ever you're stressed, if ever you're anxious, if business is going, upside down in terms of energy wise, put this on, listen to it in your car, in your home, and it will change your frequency. I thought, thank you. I just took it, and I thought, I probably wouldn't do this. But then in my mind, during a certain period of the business, it was growing, it was stressful. I thought, why shouldn't I do it? So I put it in my car and I drove to the office, 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back. And I tell you, it changed my frequency. I arrived from home to the office much more grounded, much more calmer. And much more, how can I say, in a way that I was more open to people and the problems that were around us rather than being, sometimes a little bit direct with people. So I thought maybe that's a coincidence. So I tried it many times and I realized that it truly did work. So it was about 12 months later, I went back to that same stall and said, hey, this worked. And I wanted to know more about the organization, which was run by Master Sha, who is a world-renowned healer, teacher, transformative artist, and a humanitarian. And they then said, come to an event. I went to an event. I could see how people were being transformed by this frequency. So I thought, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to help them. And to cut a long story short, from one CD, which I received, I'm now the Love, Peace, Harmony Exec Director. So I cannot be more honored to be in this position to then be able to help many people who are going through stressful periods, anxious periods. And we know that when we go through those periods, it does impact, all of our life, our relationships, our friends, our family, and more. So to be in this position, to be in an organization that can truly help people, and there's many more parts to which I'll come on to, truly help people is a real honor.
So much to unpack, and I love the connection. Also for the audience that might be younger, a CD is like a record that we used to use back in the 90s, right? Like they were awesome. They could scratch, yes, but you could also make a great mix on. Go check them out. They're pretty cool on that side. So I love the CD side because it brings me back on that end too, of just going to conferences or getting CDs in the mail of like, what is that I'm supposed to.
But now we have MP3 players, though. I will say, I'm going back a few years now. Now we have the MP3 players. So yeah, it's all good now for today's living.
It's funny on that side. Richard, I really appreciate the journey of connecting the dots on that. And I had a very similar experience too of, getting you going to university, having great experience, coming out and like landing the dream job, right? Or so I thought, middle of New York City and like working with one of my best friends from college. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what everyone told us about. And 2 weeks in said, this isn't it. Like, this is nothing they told us about. And it's on both sides. One, it's probably the ego side of, hey, I should have the best job in the world, right? And like I studied and I worked hard. And like, no, like the world doesn't work like that. But then the other side of it is like, is this it? And that was my feeling internally of that corporate job on, the pathway into career of like, am I just destined to do this and just count every, biweekly check? Mine happened pretty quick, and I say it was the best gift I've ever received. But why bring that up in this conversation is like, where did that come from? Like it just in education in general, which is why our program and conversation is going to be so valuable. And I'm so excited to share that too. But like, tell us about, like growing up, your education a little bit and where, little sprinkles maybe of that passion started to shine through. I know the CD was like the, peak experience ultimately for you of like it changed, but there were probably other things that caught your attention along the way throughout your childhood, throughout your schooling that led up into that moment. Tell us a little bit more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Evan. Yeah, I mean, if I track back, I've had a great history of education through all the various schools when you're young and when you're growing up, and then going into higher education, then going into the professional arena. So I did become an accountant in my 20s. So I became very logical, but I must admit, accountancy, even though I qualified, wasn't really for me. I was more of a salesy marketing kind of person, but with the accountancy as a backdrop was amazing for me. So I think for me going through that education program, I learned so much, and I've had so much continuing professional development over the years that if I had to really summarize it, I think that all the things that I've done and all the education that I've had have all knitted together. Do you know what I mean? All the dots have joined together. And now when I enter this new world of helping others, help to heal the planet, help individuals, helping communities, all those component parts that I have developed over those years are coming together as one, and now I can be here knowing about finance, sales, marketing, operations, logistics, plus all the background in developing yourself to get to those higher levels of professional education. So when I do look back, I think my whole journey has been developed for me to be in this position today.
Well, it's
You
what
know what I mean?
it's what makes you a great leader is recognizing, being humble enough to say like, I don't have all the answers. I'm going to grow. And then you also get to the point as a leader where you don't have a choice. You have to know these things, whether you like it or not, to some extent. And then you hope to surround yourself with much smarter people, which is always my
Yes.
mentality. If I am the smartest one in the room, there's a very large problem taking place here. But on that side of it, Richard, you mentioned, and just diving into the organization's work a little bit further, I mean, wellness, it's a big one, right, these days.
It is.
Not just like, what we see from a longevity perspective, but in our world especially, there are so many kids, there are so many teachers, there are so many administrators and parents that are struggling with this. I mean, I had a conversation recently with one educator bawling on the chat. It was with our team, and she said, I just filed a suicide prevention report for a fourth grader. And it's like, this is heavy stuff. Like, none of us signed up for that one. And as parents and just working in the organization, like, that is heartbreaking. Of school should be this golden place for
Yes.
kids to explore and get curious and create impact and fail. This is something we talk about 24/7. The teacher side, I think today's 3 and 4 teachers are feeling burnt out and getting ready to leave the practice. From an administration side, the average superintendent lasts 2 years and 2 months. This industry is a mess right now. Why I love the work that you guys are doing and just the journey is it's not lip service. Someone from the outside, especially some school districts, might think like, hey, social emotional learning or wellness, we're going to bring in a speaker for one day and we're compliant now, right? Everyone's healed. in that sense. It's not, right? This is an ongoing process. It's about community. So tell us a little bit more just about the work at Love, Peace, Harmony and, the impact that you guys are seeing on really like a day-to-day basis at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think like today we live in one of the most connected times in history. Okay, everything on your phone, you can get anything anytime. Information is available on request. But so many people we find feel even more disconnected, through this amazing connection that the internet was supposed to bring us. So we see around the world, okay, we're global, we're in 40 countries around we see rising levels of stress, anxiety, loneliness, we see conflict around the world, division, and so many people are like searching for a purpose, like a belonging and hope for the future. We see that communities around the world are facing these social issues, the economical issues, the environmental issues and challenges that I don't think any one person or organization can solve. I really don't. But that is why the world needs more love, peace, and harmony. Not as ideals, but as values we choose every day. So what we're trying to do as an organization is to bring this high frequency and vibration of love, peace, harmony into the lives of 2 billion households worldwide. That's quite a challenge in itself because that's pretty much the world. But when we started with this vision, I quickly realized people were asking me questions about, well, what does that mean? So, we could always sort of come up with the saying that Master Sha, he's amazing. He's a great teacher and healer and humanitarian. He sort of melded ancient wisdom with today's living. So in a lot of ways, what we can do is be clear that with our Love, Peace, Harmony song, with our Love, Peace, Harmony calligraphy, what Master Sha teaches is that, whatever you chant, you become, whatever you say, you become. Whatever you think you become, your actions, your activities, whatever you do, you become. So the message is fairly clear, that if we think of the words of love, peace, harmony, and I will say them, I love my heart and soul, I love all humanity, join hearts and souls together, love, peace, and harmony. It's beautiful words, high frequency music, that if we chant that, listen to that, consider how we think, and become much more love, peace, harmony, then our frequency will naturally change. And you will become much more love, peace, and harmony. But that in itself, I would say, was still not enough to convince people what we did. So we did create, and this is when I first met you, Evan, the 3 pillars, So we broke our organization up into something that would or could apply to everyone. So pillar number 1 was very much nurture yourself. So these were all the wellness practices, like meditation, chanting, and more that really do help you to raise your frequency. And also, in the same time, reduce your stress, your anxiety that builds up every day and replace it with a kind of inner calm, resilience, and more, So that would in itself help people to feel better about themselves. So we truly do believe that, healing the planet does help when people feel better about themselves. So when we nurture ourselves, we naturally care more deeply for each other and the planet. So with that in mind, we had a second pillar, supporting others. And this is our network of humanitarian volunteers and all the projects around the world in the 40 countries. And we support people, families, communities, and more. And the reason why we love this world movement is because we created the volunteer network to be in each and every country. But when they chant and meditate together, it's in their language, it's in their time zone. So it allows access across the world to the work that we're doing in the time zone and in the language of the people, because not everybody speaks English. So we really have to sort of make sure that we do try to reach all backgrounds and all demographics. But I think the third pillar is another one which is really key for our relationship, and that's healing the planet. These are the environmental projects that care for the planet, that support a more balanced future for us and future generations. And I know we're going to come on to more about Plastic to Purpose, where we do teach children, and this is what we're working with you on, about love, peace, harmony, the impact of plastic waste. We rolled it out in Atlanta, Hawaii, and it'll be London in September. And it's such an amazing project where children can actually experience the change from waste plastic to purpose, through seeing how the various forms of plastic can be transformed through one of our machines called a Love Peace Harmony Press into like a key ring, and they're just amazed that this waste plastic, one, that it isn't good for the planet, but secondly, that you can turn this waste plastic into a purpose. So to teach the younger generations about the impact of waste plastic really will, I feel, change the planet, because when they understand, what they need to do to make a change, these are the generations coming through that will be able to make the change. So we're excited by that project, but we're also doing the other ones like 3 million trees by 20. And we're also doing water wells in Africa. So we're really excited to be able to work in all three of those pillars. And we really are making a change, because we believe that we need to take action. And for people to connect with us, they truly have to be able to see that we are doing something positive to make a positive change on the planet.
I love it. And really the biggest thing is the outlets, access, and just surrounding yourself. I think that to me is always like laws of attraction. I'm a very big believer in, from Master Sha, I know that's kind of direct connection on that side. How do we surround ourselves with not only the knowledge, but the people and the experiences that create change? And I think we look at change in education all the time of like, what does change actually look like? How do you measure impact? And change isn't necessarily just, hey, we're going to change 100,000 person school district or board or community overnight. It's how do we take these little actions that lead up? And I love how you teased out plastic to purpose, because we're not going to dive too deep into that one today on this. We have a whole lot to get behind there too. But Richard, I really thank you for the time on this one. I think from an introductory perspective to the organization, it's phenomenal. One thing that I will leave the audience with, and I would love to hear from you on this, is for the average administrator or the average teacher in any classroom around the world, time is the most important metric possible, right? Most time they're not eating lunch during the day. They have 5 fires they have to put out somehow. How does someone integrate this, right? Like you make it sound great. It's easy, right? What do you say? Which is perfect. You're the perfect person to talk to about this. But like on an everyday practical basis, I think everyone wants to feel better. Everyone wants wellness in their life. Everyone wants wellness in their community. Like what is step one to just integrating this type of mindset? Maybe it's listening to a CD for 45 minutes, and finding a CD player in 2026 would be great, even though we do go the MP3 route these days. But what is step one? Like leave our community with that thought, because I think it's going to set up great to then start introducing, all right, what's the work behind here? And for our community, which is global, is how do we get involved in something like this as well?
Well, thank you, Evan. Yes, it's a very, very good point. I mean, in Love, Peace, Harmony and the foundation itself, we are active each week. We are on social media. And a lot of our initial connections come from the social media environment. And we try to hold people in that environment. But one of the most important things for us is that when people do connect with the song, with the calligraphy, with our events, that is just a moment in time. So our main challenge is not just to find them, it's the ability to hold them in that space, to keep them coming back for more, to keep developing themselves so they truly do start to feel better about themselves. And I am 100% convinced that when people start to feel better about themselves, they do care more about supporting others and healing the planet. So the first step is always about healing yourself. Connect with Love, Peace, Harmony, come to our events, join us on social media. We do have a community as well around the world, and that framework was created to not only find the people, but to hold the people. So the biggest challenge is, holding everybody in this space to allow them to continue their journey, and to then allow them to have this inner shift, which allows them to think, I want to help others and I want to get involved in helping the planet. So that's how we see things. That's how we're pushing forward. We're always seeing a varying field of change, and we are going to change with that to make sure we're always in the right place at the right time with the right message.
So Richard, don't leave us hanging. Where can we find you on social media, and how do we get involved?
Yeah, so the best place to go is our website, lovepeaceharmony.org. Everything you want to know about Love, Peace, Harmony is within that site, including access to our social media channels, our projects, and everything about what we're doing around the world. So I encourage people, lovepeaceharmony.org. And the most exciting thing with this is I mentioned the song. Everything we do is free. You can go onto the website, you can listen to the song, you can download the song, and you can start to see change in your life for no investment whatsoever. So I look forward to you joining us on lovepeaceharmony.org, experiencing the song, and then feeding back to us on how you feel when you are connected with it. And also, maybe you'll join our world movement around the world to join these groups and truly make a difference to humanity and the planet.
Richard, you're the best. On my side of the pond, you're on the other side this afternoon already, but that is a great way to start my day on that end. Thinkers, stay tuned for part 2. I promise you, there's a really great announcement to come in between. Go check out Love, Peace, Harmony. Feel good about yourself. Richard, we appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Evan. Thank you. Have a great day.